All right, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Kayfabe Corner here. I'm your host, JPO, Jordan Persones. As I said, down one of the stars of the Florida wrestling scene. I'm here with an OG, if you will. It's Sideshow, everybody. Sideshow, how are you, my man?
I mean, I'm doing awesome considering, all that's going on, this pandemic crap. But I feel it was a good reset, for me. Working a lot. I got injured. We'll probably talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely.
And I had to have surgery. So I mean, it was kind of like a perfect time. I mean, in that sense. But I'm living. Rehabbing. I'm working hard to get back into actually work. We're slowly opening up around here. I've got some things coming this weekend, a wedding that was postponed from March. I'm DJing, and tomorrow I'm doing a kind of like a parking lot party at this bar, Skitty's, that I work at. So it's kind of going to be nice to get back into the swing of things. It's going to be kind of weird because I've just kind of been, just hanging around, playing video games. I have games that I got for Christmas.
Tell me before, when you playing some Assassin's Creed, what else you playing?
Assassin's Creed Origins. I bought the, new, or should I say old, Final Fantasy VII. That's really cool. That was probably one of my absolute favorite games when I was a kid. I've got like some of the Resident Evils. I'm playing, the remake of Resident Evil 2 and 3. I'm kind of like bouncing around. It kind of gets confusing though, because like every button, like the buttons are different on every game. So like I'm hitting like buttons like playing Resident Evil, and I'm like, why isn't he shooting? And it's like, oh, well, that's the Assassin's Creed control. Right? It kind of gets confusing. So I'm trying to stick with one game. So I'm mainly playing the Assassin's Creed Origins right now, but I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit. Gave me a chance to play a little or watch some stuff on Netflix and Prime, watch some shows I wanted to catch up on, some movies I wanted to see.
What you watching? Now we can talk. What you watching?
I actually just not too long ago started that series Black Mirror.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good one.
On Netflix. And the first season, I was kind of like, because I'm not really a sci-fi kind of guy, and a lot of it's very sci-fi. But as it got on in like season 2 and 3, like I like the concept of some of them. Like, there's like one episode where they have like these bees that are mechanical bees that are controlled by a computer, and they make their own hives and they pollinate, things, through controls because the bee population is dying out. But like someone found a way to hack into them, and they have like online polls of who deserves to die. And whoever like loses that poll, these bees go and kill them. So I mean, it's weird, but
yeah.
it is quite.
Some of them can get quite weird. Yes.
Some of them are very, very weird. Like there's this really one. I mean, where like these two guys were in the military together or something like that, and they played this video game. It was
yeah.
Fighter. And then like their characters, one was a girl and one was a guy, even though like both of them were actually guys. And they were like making out in the video game, and they found it was weird, but they were getting addicted to the video game. And I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. If that's what you're into.
No. I remember messaging my brother telling him, "Hey, we're not playing that game if it comes out, all right?"
Yeah, it just seemed awfully strange. I mean, I guess that's what they're going for, like the shock value. And stuff.
Yeah.
I watched that. Letterkenny on Hulu. I love that show. It's like
I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
No.
Oh, I don't even know what it's really about. I've just seen photos.
It's like dick and fart jokes all day long.
Okay.
I mean, it's stupid. I guess you call it stoner humor or just like stupid humor. It's in Canada. It's like a small town in Canada called Letterkenny. There's only like 5,000 people that live in the whole county. And or the city or whatever it is, and they're separated in like 4 different like groups of people. There's the Hicks, there's the hockey players, there's the Christians, and there are these like guys called the Skids, and they're like these techno gothic like meth heads, and they're always fighting with one another. And like the comedy is very I want to say like well thought out. You know what I mean? Like lots of puns, lots of a play on words, where like they'll just keep going back and forth for the same subject and stuff like that. I mean, it's really hard to explain. You have to really like see it. to really check it out and understand what it is. But I like it. I think it's funny, and it's only like 30 minutes, so not even. So it's like, one of those things, like, you have a little time, you could sit down, watch an episode,
Absolutely, no, that's good. Uh, well, you tell me a little bit about Pasco County too. Tell me a little bit about where you live, Pasco County, and how they're reacting to this.
Pasco County, we were on live PD for 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's how I know you.
They showed the worst of us. When I first moved here, this is a very, very small town. It wasn't built up as it was. It was a good retirement town. We had like a little Port Richey, so we had like a little way to get out into the ocean, or the Gulf rather. And it was a cool little town. And then it started building up and stuff like that. And then it got really bad for a little while, like when the pill epidemic was going around and people were getting all on the pills and stuff. Now I think that's really when it started kind of going downhill a little bit. It's not as bad now. They've actually been really trying to build it up. We are downtown. I used to be I wouldn't even go downtown. It was just terrible. But now they've built it up. They've got some nice restaurants and some nice bars down there. They're at least making an effort. It's not perfect. We always get a lot of, crap. Well, Pasco, this and that, but, it is what it is, but it's home to me. I'll never move. And everybody's like, well, why don't you move cause we're close to Clearwater and Tampa. And everybody's like, why don't you move there? And one reason I won't move there, traffic. I hate traffic. You can leave your house trying to go to Walmart. That's 5 minutes down the street. It'll take you, a half hour, 40 minutes if there's bad traffic. You know what I mean? And people are like, well, what about the junkies that might live in Pasco? I'm like, you can't punch traffic. You can punch a junkie. So
you can punch traffic. It'll really hurt.
It can, but I mean, back in the old ER again.
Yeah, you've been there too often recently, so let's avoid that. Let's start off at the beginning though. Here, why we're here, pro wrestling. Where does your story start? Even before you got into business, are you a fan? When do you get into wrestling?
When I was a little kid, I mean, I'm talking a couple years old. My grandfather, I never really grew up with a father. I grew up with a grandfather, a grandmother, and a mom. And my grandfather, he was the most humble, kind, soft-spoken person you'll ever meet. Everybody loved him. He's a good BSer. My mom says that's where I get my outgoingness from, that I could talk to anyone. Everybody loved him. I called him Pop. My grandma, she was a little rough around the edges. She was really old school about everything, very strict. And she ran the house when it came to she wore the pants of the family. However, the one thing that my grandfather, no matter what was on, no matter what was going on, every Saturday morning we watched wrestling. And that was it. And I sat on the couch with him. And we watched wrestling and we talked about it. And he was a big Dusty Rhodes fan. And he always used to have this saying. He goes, "Would you rather go mackerel fishing or would you rather go see Dusty Rhodes?" Of course, I wanted to go see Dusty Rhodes, of course. Unfortunately, when I turned right around when I turned 7, my grandfather died of a heart attack. He was one of those guys that would eat a steak, but he would eat the big piece of fat and gristle too. He just anything in sight. He was, and he didn't really, take care of himself in that sense. But he was a happy man. Everybody loved him, and everywhere I went, he went. Everywhere he went, I went. So I kind of took it hard at 7, when he passed. At 7 years old, I don't think you don't really understand death, just yet. That they're gone. And, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it at that time. But my mom was, great about, getting that out of my head. And she would go to the USF Sundome and get tickets for, wrestling at the time. I get maybe Superstars. It was Superstars of Wrestling or something like that. WWF at the time. And we go down there, and my mom loved Marty Jannetty. That was her favorite. She liked the Rockers, and probably Shawn Michaels is probably one of my biggest influences. I mean, I know that sounds cliche. A lot of people say that,
He's
but
my number one guy.
I mean, just the way, that he carried himself and he's one of the guys that kind of brought like the smaller guys into the mainstream. You know what I mean? Because, like you'd see Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik and all these like big Macho Man, all these big larger than life guys. And Shawn, I mean, he's not like he was a small guy by any means, but he was him and guys like him and Bret Hart, were a lot smaller than like your average big muscle bodybuilder guys that you had back in the day. But she would take me to these events and get us good seats, and the tickets would go on sale about halfway through the event. So she would let me sit there, and she'd go down and wait in line to make sure that we got tickets, good seats for the next time they came. So I was always a fan, and me and my friends, of course, we were kids. We'd play around in not the backyard, the front yard. We were front yard wrestlers. When this is when I was 10, 12. And my mom would like literally film us with her big ass camcorder and sit out there in the heat and film us while we like totally tore up her lawn. We'd take 4 broomsticks and put them in each corner, and then we'd have one rope around the broomstick, and we'd put step ladders in each, like little step stools in each corner. And you just see, like, I remember when I was watching the videos when I was a little bit older, you could see like just like the grass coming up when we were like, falling and taking moves and stuff like that. And we were pretty rough, for kids, you know what I mean, out there. We weren't really holding much back. But yeah, I always was a fan. I was kind of looked at a little bit in school like a dork because like, everybody else was into, football, baseball, basketball, hockey. And don't get me wrong, I like, I'm not really, never really was a basketball fan. But like, I was always a football fan and a little bit baseball. I didn't get really into hockey until I got older, but I was everybody else had their baseball cards and their football cards, and I had my wrestling cards, and, of course some kids, oh, that's stupid or this or that. But I mean, I didn't care. That was my thing.
Absolutely. Here. So when do you start transitioning into wrestling? How old are you? What's the decision? Where do you start at?
I was 15 years old.
Really?
I was going to a vocational school halfway in like high school. Like you go half to like your high school, and then a bus would take you over to this place called Marchman, and it was a vocational school. And I took graphic arts and printing, which I absolutely never did anything with. Just to let you know. But there was a guy over there that told us of some kind of like wrestling kind of thing that they did behind this coast to coast bail bonds place up here in Newport Richey. And it was run by this guy, Bill Peters. I mean, this was a homemade ring. This was made of plywood. I mean, it was totally backyard. And I wouldn't like, in this day and age, I wouldn't recommend that be the way that people start. I would always recommend proper training. But at that time, I was a 15-year-old kid. I didn't care. You know what I mean? So we're out there killing each other. And I mean, I came in and, they figured that they were going to have to show me some things because, Bill kind of snooped around at like places like the Sportatorium and stuff like that. Side note, who's a great friend of mine now, one of my best friends in the business, Ron Nemi. Ron hated Bill. Hated him. And because Bill was he's a little slimy. I ain't going to lie. You know what I mean? He'd go to shows trying to, not knowing anything, trying to get in and trying to get like, talk to people and get in people's ears and, try to get his own thing started. Eventually what happened is Bill got us somehow to go down to the Sportatorium that used to be in Tampa on Albany and Kennedy. 2-story building. I think the Grahams owned it originally. But there was this lady called Queen Dominique or something. And it was a really weird experience because like they said the upstairs was haunted. No one really went upstairs, and they're like the office was upstairs and all this room. And I went out, dude, it was scary. It's a very scary place upstairs. And like there's times where we were working out in the ring and the lights would just go out. You know what I mean? And we'd hear sounds upstairs, but no one was up there. So it was a very, very scary kind of thing. But they used to do shows there, and a lot of the guys from all different organizations, even WWF, guys would go there and, go in and train, at the time, when they came down like this area and stuff. So that's where I started getting like, a little bit of training, and it was like just from like a lot of different like, indie guys at the time. So I don't think even then I don't feel like I was properly trained at that point. But fast forward, we started running shows at this bingo hall up here in Port Richey, and I think for me, and I'm not trying to like toot my own horn, but I think like I kind of got it a little better than most guys did. At least the entertainment aspect of it. But I was, I've been a theater kid, and I took acting lessons and singing lessons, and I was actually, I don't know if you know this, I was an extra in Edward Scissorhands when I was a kid. I was in the class. So but that's like my big claim to fame, I guess. But no, I was always into like the entertainment aspect of it, and I was always kind of athletic, but never quite athletic enough to like be like super awesome at football or super awesome at like another sport. But I sure did like to beat the hell out of myself, and that's just kind of what I brought into it. And my original character was OG Scarface. And the reason I did OG Scarface is because I was thinking of I never wanted to be a face ever. Never wanted to be the fan favorite. So I thought of, who do I hate more than anyone else in the world? This is when I was like 15 years old. I'm like, I hate these like white kids that try to act gangster, and it's just like stupid, So I had like the one pant leg up. Oh, dude, that's even later on down the line. Oh, look at that hair. That's a joke. Oh my God, I look like the singer of Sugar Ray. That's terrible. That's me and Jerome Hendricks. That was and I think that was NWA Florida. Yeah, NWA Florida. And that was Joe Price and Ron Nemi's deal. God, that was old. 2004. Jeez, how the time change. Look at those pants. It's like I'm wearing a trash bag. Look at that crappy arm drag. That's funny. Oh my God. But yeah, I came up with OG Scarface, and like that evolved into more of the gothic thing later. But like I used to have the one pant leg up, and I used to like wear like the Adidas stuff, and the hat, and originally it was like I was from Chicago, because I just thought like that's where gangsters came from, you know what I mean? I had this guy, this little short kid named Mike Melson, and he was Carlito. And he was like the leader of the cartel family. And that was me, him, Bill, the guy that ran the organization, was Chopper. So he's like a biker kind of character. Art Strong was part of that. I'm sure you know Artie. And yeah, there's a little group of us. So we started doing it around here. And, I even though I was the bad guy, I always kind of was a fan favorite. Because I was known to do a lot of crazy things and stuff like that. As it went on, Bill, I owe him everything, and I know Ron still to this day would like not really be, the happiest about, Bill even existing at any time. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here at all. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for him, and believing in me and in pushing me, you know what I mean? Into doing what I was doing. So I started going to IPW with my daughter's mom. Before obviously I had my daughter, and we'd go to she'd take me to the shows. I think I was about, at this point I was like 19 maybe, and she'd take me to the shows down at the Plumbers Union Hall in St. Pete and the VFW in St. Pete. And Ron knew that I was one of Bill's boys, and Ron would be damned if any of Bill's guys would ever be on his show. So I'd go up to him, hey Ron, how you doing? You know, blah. I'd introduce myself. You know, I'd really like to, you know, show you what I can do. I'd like to be on your show, and say, well, you know, we're all, you know, booked up. And he was always polite to me, which I will give him that. You know what I mean? He could have told me to fuck off. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm sure there's plenty of guys he would have. But you know, I came to him correct. You know what I mean? And you know, just you know, but he kind of kayfabed me, kind of, yeah, well, you know, we don't have really any room. And you know, next show I did the same thing, and next show I did the same thing, and next show I did the same thing. Where it got to the point where I was like, all right, dude, I'll put you on the next show. And he even told me the reason he put me on the show was so I'd hang myself and just like embarrass myself and never, you know, come back. And he put me in with Jet Jaguar for the very first match, and we had a great match. And so it really kind of, I don't know, it kind of chapped Ron's ass, I think, a little bit. And also he saw the fact that I kind of got along with everybody that I was just meeting and stuff like that. I mean, you had like, you know, back in the day, you had legitimate ass kickers, you know, out there, you know what I mean, that were out there, you know, in the ring. You know, you had like guys like Navy SEAL and the Southern Posse and Inner Aggression, you know, Cuban Assassin still wrestling. He was on the card, and you know, all these guys. Jamie Noble was one of the guys around back then. Jeremy Lopez, all these guys, and Jet, and the Shane twins. I mean, you know, I mean these guys were like larger than life. Jeff Bradley, you know, and you know, I'm going out there and you know just getting my ass kicked pretty much, and I wasn't really familiar with hardcore wrestling as much. ECW was just kind of like getting like really big, and I loved it, but I wasn't really
I was
familiar.
just say, what time frame over here? We're like late 90s?
You were looking around, yeah, like around 98, 99, something like that. Probably 99. And the next show I was on, I wrestled this guy named Mike Marcello. I don't know if you know who he is. He's deceased now. But he did not like me at all. And I don't know. Ron still to this day might not say if he was a part of this. He kind of like, if I bring it up, he kind of just smirks at me a little bit. But when I went out there, like Mike was looking to hurt me. You know, even though I was in the business for quite a few years, like this was really my first like chance really branching out other than the organization with Bill Peters, WPWF it was. You know, I might have done like some other little shows, but I was always like under the safety net of Bill. So like I never really had to go. This was my first time really going out on my own. And dude, I mean, I guess I could still say I was kind of green because I, you know, just didn't know anything else. And dude, like from the start of the bell, I mean, it was just brutal. I mean, like it was fans bring your own weapons. He was like taking like real pots, like pots you cook like noodles in, and like just bouncing it off my head, and you know, hitting me with all kinds of crazy shit. Unsafe pile drivers on the concrete. I mean, it took me probably about half the match of like feeling like shit to realize that, you know, this guy is really trying to mess me up. And keep in mind, I'm at the time a 19-year-old kid, and I'm about $165 if I'm lucky. So I took a chair and I just threw it at his head and split him open. And he was pissed because he had to do TV tapings at the Sportatorium, and you couldn't do them because he couldn't stop bleeding every time he'd hit it. So, yeah, so that was that. And then I think the next show was a triple threat with me, him, and Jet Jaguar. And right off the rip, he just hit me in the back of the head, like the back of the head, with a street sign. And I like literally saw stars. I literally had no idea where I was. I looked up and I'm like, where am I? And I'm looking up and I just see lights and I don't know where I'm at. And I look to the right and I see fans. I'm like, oh, I'm in the wrestling ring, you know? And after that, no one thought I was coming back. No one thought I was coming back. Like Ron booked me on the next show, but they actually literally had someone else there at that next show, just figuring that I wasn't going to show up because I didn't ask for. You found it? Yeah, this is it. Look at this.
Yeah, he's about to hit you. I saw this a second ago. He's about to hit you hard.
Oh, dude. I mean, look at how small I was. Oh yeah, like just sits on it.
Oh,
Boom. I mean, just and at this point, I'm still like, like I said, I'm green. I don't really know what's what. You know what I mean? That wasn't bad. I mean, I remember this like it was yesterday. I mean, you don't forget a beating like this. And I contribute my grit nowadays to matches like this. So as much of a dick move as I think it was, I mean, wrestling's different nowadays. You don't do that anymore. You get in trouble for hazing someone or making fun of them now, it seems. You know what I mean? Someone will run and be like, oh, he offended me. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Let's go online and get him blackballed. You know what I mean? Or whatever. But like back then, like, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And that was just the thing. Um, and yeah, so no one thought I was coming back. And then I showed up at the next show, and like I walked into the dressing room, and like I said, we got guys like I was actually working Haystacks Calhoun Jr. on that show, and they actually were gonna have Hack Myers work him, and Hack just sat there and looked, and I was like, what? I'm like, huh? Because he didn't, he didn't really know me, Hack, besides me saying hello. And later on, actually, Hack and I became really, really good friends. But him and I remember Scoot Andrews like saying, "Oh, you're back, kid," and I'm like, "Yeah," and like it was like really silent. I don't think anyone was more surprised than Ron, and I think I kind of started gaining the respect right then, and then no one really messed with me so much after that. And I started getting put in better matches. Guys were, working with me a lot more, and I started learning a lot more from, guys like the Posse and Scoot and Hack and guys like that. So, yeah, it was kind of a respect thing. Even Mike Marcello after that was like cool, totally cool with me. So it was quite a ride, with that. So that was a lot of fun, and I really, if it wasn't for everything happens for a reason. Like Bill Peters, I wouldn't have even been in the business if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't even probably have gotten a chance back then, being a little tiny, small little kid. You know what I mean? That just pretty much came out of wrestling in his front yard, like trying to jump in the ring with guys that were like properly trained. Kind of went way ahead of everything. Before IPW, when I started getting really good training, where I actually got like real training, Brian Knobs was running a show in Titusville at this college, and it was like an old WWF Legends show, and it was like the main event was Knobs and Tatanka, Bushwhackers against the Texas Hangmen, Sensational Sherry was on the card, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, B. Brian Blair. I mean, the list goes on. It was just, and it was like Typhoon, and like to me, as a young, 18-year-old kid, seeing this, I'm like, this is amazing. We were just going to go there and bring the ring because we had a really good ring, and we were just there, like literally just going to set up and tear down the ring, and that was it. And I guess they wanted to add some more time to the show, and Knobs looks at me, goes, "You a worker?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Got your gear?" I'm like, "Well, always." He's like, "That your boy over there, Dragonfire?" His name's Andy. Dragonfire used to wrestle last. He was really good in his time. He's like, "Yeah, well, go get your gear. Put on your pads and stuff like that. Put on your boots." I had collegiates at the time, and we got in the ring. He's like, "Do a high cross body off the top." Did a high cross body. He's like, "All right, you guys are going to be on the show." And then I think also Sean Davis as Mortal Decay, that was his old gimmick, wrestled Pete Lionheart or something. They opened the show, and then Dragonfire and I, were the second, on the match. And then, after this is all nothing but like legends. It was like amazing. And I remember right before the match, I go up to Brian. I'm like, "Hey, well, who's over?" And he goes, "Are you the man?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm the man." He's like, "Well, then you're over." All right, I'm cool. You know, I still talk to Knobs to this day all the time. We actually still laugh about stuff like that. But yeah, and I mean, these were thousands of people there. You know, this is the biggest crowd. I mean, I was used to, like, you know, at the most maybe 200 on like the best show I've ever done at that time. You know what I mean? Maybe 100. You know, like on a or 75 on a regular basis or something. So this was amazing, and they were hot for everything. Um, the show was over. We were breaking down the ring, and Steve Curtin came up to me, and it was kind of funny how things come full circle. Because when I used to go to those Sundome shows with my mom, he was doing the Skinner gimmick.
Mm.
I would always be in his face, and he would always come to me every show and say something about me or get in my face, like at the end of his match or beginning of his match, every time. And then, you know, he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey man, you know, I'm over at, you know, Dean Malenko's school, and you know, if you ever want to come over there and kind of, get your skill set, you know, polished up, you know, come on over." I'm like, "What? Huh? Really?" I mean, I was like, "This is awesome." So that's where I ended up going, and the WCW was like, I think, like just like starting to get a little big. I think it was right when like Malenko left ECW and went over to WCW, I think, and so Dean comes to the show or to the training one time when I'm there, and I'm like in my head marking out, like totally marking out. I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't believe this." And he tells me, "Hey, get in the ring with me." Huh? Come here, get in the ring. And I went to lock up with him, and I gouged him in the eye. So damn nervous. And the man of 1,000 holds probably had to put me in 999 of those at that point. I was wrapped up like a pretzel in the ring. And because again, that's how it was. You know what I mean? You got stretched. You got, you know, when you were the new guy, you got, you know, beat up a little bit. But it was great going there and really learning from different guys. You know, I mean, dude, it was surreal at the time. You know, I mean, you don't, like, now it's like cool. You know what I mean? You know, I see someone, "Hey, cool," you know, because you know, it's not like a thing anymore. You know what I mean? But I mean, still, I mean, I ain't gonna lie and say that, you know, it's not cool to, like, you know, meet, you know, one of the guys you grew up watching, or, you know, that's on TV. I mean, it's a blessing, you know, if they've been anywhere, for you to even, you know, get 5 minutes of conversation with them, pick their brain, you know. But yeah, it was definitely a surreal situation.
That's awesome. I mean, anyone would be excited for that, gouging him in the eye on accident. What's the transition, and why is the transition of the name YOG Scarface to Sideshow? Did you just want to switch it up, or well, why change it?
Well, when IPW kind of, well, I got into a lot of trouble. I was a pretty bad kid as a teenager. Um, and I mean, you know, this is back in the days where everybody was drinking and partying, and, you know, in the dressing room before the matches and after the matches and stuff. But I took it to another level. I mean, I had some demons that, you know, I messed with, it, and ended up landing me in trouble, and ended up landing me in this Diesel.
Is it really?
Yeah, his name Diesel.
Nice.
Not like Big Daddy Cool Diesel. I actually
Oh,
found him. He was covered in gasoline.
oh
So
no.
yeah, him and his sister. So I cleaned him up and took him home. Um, but yeah, I got in a lot of trouble. I went away, took a little vacation, a state paid vacation. Um, and I disappointed Ron at the time, you know, because, you know, I was one of his guys, but I disappointed him because, you know, he didn't want to see me go down the path I was going down, and, you know, he was a little concerned for, you know, me, and, like, I've been in his, you know, to his home, and, around his wife and his kids. You know what I mean? It's concerning when, you know, someone's, you know, going down that dark path, you know, especially, you know, when you don't understand that at the time. So, you know, I went away, and I got out, and, I cleaned my shit up, you know, right away, immediately. Um, and Ron pretty much welcomed me back with open arms, you know, but it wasn't really IPW so much. It was NWA Florida now, kind of. I missed most of the WrestlePlex days. I only caught like the very beginning of it. I missed all the TV tapings, all that. I was gone. And Ron welcomed me back, you know, and I had this girlfriend at the time, Animosity was her ring name. She was really good at what she does, because she was very like flexible, and she could do like, you know, lots of acrobatic stuff. And, you know, she had, you know, big fake cans. So, you know, of course, you know, people would pop for that. But, you know, I started doing still OG Scarface and all that. Towards the end of NWA Florida, I got a call from Ron. He's like, hey, you know that bar Bourbon Street up there in Newport Richie? He's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I'm going to run a show with this guy named Ralph Mosca up there. And I need you to help me out with it, because it's like, dude, I was excited because they ran like shitty shows there before, and like I would like even the shitty shows I'd try to get on just because it was there in my town, and like, oh, well, we'll just give you some free beer and you could commentate. So I was like, that's kind of dick. So I literally would just shit on everybody because it was like live commentary over like where everybody could hear it. So I just get drunk on everybody because I was just, you know, I was like, it was stupid. There was this guy that he couldn't get his scooter trash. He was this biker guy, a total out of shape biker guy. I mean, I like him as a person. I really do. He's not a bad person, but I hate to say this, but you know, I don't think that he, you know, had any kind of training whatsoever. And he tried to ride his motorcycle in through like a side door, and he couldn't get it over like the hump, and it was kind of embarrassing. I remember that. It was funny. But Ron said, hey, we're going to run a show here at Bourbon Street, man. I need you to get tickets. I need you to get flyers out, and I need you to try to get us some sponsors. At the time, I was working at the strip club Brass Flamingo. I mean, it was making so much money. This was before the whole pill era happened. So like everything was really thriving around this area. And so I got us like 2 or 3 sponsors. I got a shit ton of pre-sold tickets out. I got like flyers out and every freaking thing. Bruce Santee was on it. Rod Steele. Roderick Strong actually was supposed to be on the show, you know, too. Cedric Strong, all those guys. And I was so excited about it. And then I guess Sal was doing Ron's videos, you know, the DVDs, and Sal had heat with the guy Dave Kokotis that was working with Ralph Coco Sports. I don't know if you know who he is. So he told Ron pretty much that if you don't pull all your boys off this show and not work with them, then I'm not doing your DVDs anymore. So Bruce, Rod, Cedric, Roderick, all them off the show. So Ron calls me and says, hey, we're going to have to pull the plug on this. I'm like, well, I've already got sponsor money. I've already got tickets out. And I've already got flyers out. And frankly, I want to do the show here, and I'm going to do it still. And, you know, Ralph called me. He's like, dude, you're going to pull out on me, brother, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and I didn't know Ralph from shit. You know, this is just something that I you know, just said, dude, I want to do a show across the street from my house. I got everybody from the club coming. I got everybody. And the next day I was taken off the NWA Florida website, and I was no longer with them. So, you know, Ron and I have had, you know, dude, he's like one of my best friends in the world now. But, you know, we've had our share of heat. Sal and I, the heat we used to have. And we're cool, you know, now. I love Sal. But you know, we had major heat, you know, especially after all this. And, you know, we went ahead with the show, but we were missing half our roster. So I went down to where Kern's school was, and I found guys like David Mercury, who I knew from NWA Florida. Him and Stash did Fahrenheit 420. So I pulled those two, and this guy named T-Bolt, and Big Daddy Pimp, and guys like that. And I got them all together, and we put together a show, and we packed the freaking house, and it was freaking amazing. We didn't do the every Tuesdays for, oh, this is why I changed my name. I'm totally going off freaking base. But this is where I changed my name because I was Sideshow. Like everybody knew me as a DJ as Sideshow, not OG Scarface. Sideshow was a name I got when I was 17 in a band. I played bass in a band at 17. Everybody else was like 25, and I got that nickname. So I used that as my DJ name. So I was like, well, I'm not gonna be OG Scarface here. Everybody knows me as Sideshow. It's stupid. So I just changed the freaking name and ditched OG Scarface and became Sideshow. And yeah, we started doing the Bourbon Street, and Bourbon Street was crazy and probably some of the best wrestling days of my life.
Now you did go by your real name at least once because it was on TNA Impact.
Oh God, where'd you find this?
This is on Impact Plus, man.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is funny. That was Frankie Capone's or Francisco Chiazza's old partner, Marcus Dillon. Oh my God.
They're about to fight Conan and R-Truth.
Oh my God, I don't believe you got this.
You taking the Conan, man. Yeah, you're chaining with Conan.
You know who hated me? Dutch Mantel.
Yeah? Why?
Oh, he hated me. Because he didn't like the fact that I wasn't wearing tights. I never wore tights. I always wore like the gothic thing, like, you know, in this deal. Oh my God.
So how does this come across? How does this happen?
Ron, actually. This was like way later on down the line after that whole oh my God, I don't believe that's there. Oh my God, I was looking, this is awesome, but not. God, how I've changed in the years. You know, what was really hard about the business when I got out of jail or whatever, everything was different. Everything was different. Like the whole business changed, like in a matter of like a year and a half. These guys were fun to work with. They were really cool. Oh my God. Yeah, that Ron hooked us up with this. It was actually supposed to be a 3-on-3, but this is when those hurricanes happened, and Road Dogg, or what, BG James is what he went by then.
Yeah.
His house in Pensacola was messed up. So, oh my God, that is absolutely fantastic. Dude, man, you're really on your shit, man. That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I did some cool stuff with that. That was a lot of fun. Dutch didn't like me because he didn't like my pants. He didn't like the fact that I had piercings because he said that was taken away from Raven's gimmick. Which is that's who my daughter was named after. My daughter's name was Raven. It was actually named after Raven because he was like probably one of my favorites back then. You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, he just did not like me, and he was just stiff when I got done with everything. He just shit on everything. And Terry Taylor pulled me aside, said, yeah, don't worry about him. He's Dutch is Dutch, you know what I mean? But he ended up being, Dutch was my agent, so, I had to respect that, obviously, but he just did not like me whatsoever. That's so funny. I haven't seen that in probably 10 years, I'd almost, have to say. But yeah, so that was that was right around the end of the Bourbon Street days, I think. And or was it? Or no, you know what? I think it was actually right before I left.
I think it was September 04. At least that's the air date. It might have been a little bit before.
Yes, so it was before we went to Bourbon Street, and I got taken out of the thing, and we started running. Bourbon Street was a very crazy. I don't know how it worked. I really don't know how it worked. I don't know how we didn't get shut down. I didn't know how we didn't have cops there freaking every night. I don't know how we didn't get killed by crazy drunken fans or people that we'd end up fighting in the parking lot. I mean, it was just, or alcohol poisoning. Jesus, we drank so much back then. They had quarter drafts and $2 wells. It was $7 to get in. So you can go there with a $20 bill, get in, get drunk, and still tip your waitress a couple bucks. And it was crazy. And people originally, they didn't come for, like, a lot of people didn't, like, weren't wrestling fans. They just, oh, cheap drinks, who cares? And they didn't want to see chain wrestling. They just want to see guys beat the shit out of each other. And we did barbed wire matches and scaffolds and tables and ladders and chairs. We had scantily clad women. I mean, the language was, I mean, ECW would have been like, oh, wow. You know, I mean, it was bad. And people would bring their kids. And their kids would be like, you know, like in our faces and saying F you. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was just crazy. But I think right then, when I got to ACW, I think I kind of got my swag back, because I felt when I got out of prison, even though I was welcome back to NWA Florida and IPW, I feel like I was missing something. I was rusty. I mean, I had some good matches, but I don't think I kind of found my niche again. I think I was kind of like lost in like the mid card, you know, I mean, like the lower mid card, or just thrown into like 3-ways and 4-ways. And I just didn't think that I was, you know, and I'm not blaming, you know, Ron or anything, like it was his booking or Joe Price's booking and so maybe some of it was, but I think most of it was just me. You know, I don't think I really, you know, branched out to where I needed to. And I think that when I got to ACW, that really made me, you know, a main event player, you know, and got me, you know, main event, you know, matches everywhere. You know, I was always the main event at WPWF because I was Bill's boy, you know what I mean? But once I got to IPW, it was a whole different story. Once I got to, you know, NWA Florida, was a whole, I mean, like I say, you got guys like Antonio Banks, MVP. You know, you got guys like him, you got Billy Fives, you got, you know, Hack Myers, you got, you know, the guys like that, the Southern Posse, Chaos, you know, all these guys that are like main the Shane twins, you know, these are main event guys. Then we're doing like these Peterson Cups where you got guys like Petey Williams and you know, Zach Gowen and you know, all these, you know, names in the business, Crazy K and Chris Hero. And I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you know, you go and you know, a lot of these guys have, you know, been places nowadays, you know, big places. Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, you know. So, you know, I think going to ACW was probably my best thing, and really got me to kind of get out of my shell, become a main event player. I got into better shape, you know what I mean? I got in a lot better shape, and stopped wrestling in like the gothic pants and the sleeveless t-shirt, and, you know, started wrestling in like the shorts and the, you know, no shirt, and, you know, actually doing it. But it was awesome because, I mean, I had all the strippers from the club there, you know what I mean, cheered me on, and it was absolutely fantastic.
What are some of your favorite matches you've ever had? Who have you really clicked with?
I mean, God, a lot of guys I clicked with. I mean, like probably first person off the top of my head would probably be Eddie Torres. Me and Eddie just, I mean, I've yet we you know, the funny thing is we were in ACW for like a long time together, you know, through the Bourbon Street days, and we always said hi, how you doing, but we never really like worked each other, and we never really like, we didn't talk a whole lot at first, you know what I mean? And then they did a deal that they wanted me and Eddie to have a match. I mean, this would totally not work in the PC era nowadays. We would totally get in like a shit ton of trouble if we did it. But, you know, I was doing this gimmick where, where's the, oh yeah, I was doing this is actually recently, a couple years ago. But yeah, we did this gimmick where I came out in a sombrero and a poncho, and I had a little ukulele and a bottle of tequila, and I was calling Eddie Torres a Mexican. And oh, dude, my groin was already torn when I did that Rana. Oh God, that hurt so bad. That was the worst. But you know, and Eddie had no idea I was doing this. You know what I mean? And it was like no holds barred at Bourbon Street. And dude, he came out, you know, to confront me, and he almost like lost it. You know what I mean? Just because I was just being such a, you know, and I still make that joke nowadays because, you know, we could joke with each other like that. But I mean, if I tried doing that nowadays, like the PC crowd would come out of the woodwork and be like, "Oh, you're, you know, being a racist or something." It wasn't meant to be like that. It was just kind of a funny little shtick that we did. Eddie's one. The feud that started ACW in the beginning was me and David Mercury. Mercury and I've always had quality matches. You know, he's a great technical wrestler. I am not, but for some reason we clicked. I mean, I could do your basic stuff, but he's like, you know, he's all about like takedowns and suplexes and submissions and, you know, catch can wrestling. And you know, I was always the hitter and the striker and stuff. But Mercury, I mean, that was the feud that started it all. And I mean, I love any time, you know, someone like, even recently Steve Madison ran a show and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna have you work Mercury." I'm like, "Absolutely," you know, and that was great. We worked each other at the Hack Myers Memorial Show. So I mean, those two guys off the top of my head. I mean, I work well with Damian Angel, Neftali, and I like wrestled when he was albino a million times in IPW. Jet Jaguar and I have had fantastic matches. Geez, I mean, recently I had a match with Darby Allin at the IPW reunion show kind of thing. That was fucking
Yeah, that was cool.
I really enjoyed working with him. I mean, you know, I could name a lot of guys. I work well with, oh, you know who was like a guy I've known for a long time, but we never worked, and then we worked like 2 matches on the same, you know, the same organization, but 2 separate shows. ERA, man, for some reason we have never even been in the same ring with each other. We're just like, "Hey, how you doing, brother? How you doing?" And for some reason we got out there and it just like clicked. And you know, we worked really well together. CJ O'Doyle, my tag team partner. We tagged forever, and so many organizations we worked with were like, "Hey, we want to split you guys up and get you guys," you know. Again, we're like, "No, absolutely not." And then finally, when we were doing the ACW show and stuff like that, Sal mentioned something about it, and it just it felt right. You know, like every other time, it just felt forced. Like, "Oh, we're just gonna split you guys up. You guys are gonna fight each other." It's like, well, that doesn't make any freaking sense. You know what I mean? So, you know, that actually, you know, worked. And the feud that we had was probably one of the absolute best in like the modern day of ACW. Like it was just got so much heat. You know, from him, like in his whole "you're selfish." That's like he still says that. Like that's like part of his shtick now. That was born, you know, when we were, you know, doing that, you know. So it's great. You know, CJ and I are really good friends too outside the ring. We do a lot of like mud runs together. We hang out a lot. It's so funny because we're like polar opposites, like the way he is. Like, you know, like I like to enjoy my drink and stuff like that from time to time. He's never even touched a beer.
Oh, really?
We've gone skydiving, you know, together. You know, he's totally Mr. Straight Edge. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny, but you know, like we always, I mean, even like we don't see each other for a while. Like, you know, every couple weeks we'll, "Hey, what's up?" and, you know, BS and stuff like that. But I've had a lot of good matches, like with a lot of good guys. Probably I'll tell you what one of my most memorable matches ever was I worked Spike Dudley at ECW Arena. It was for Velocity Pro, but it was at the arena in Philly, and I'm originally from Philly, so that meant a lot to me. I've always been a big fan of ECW, and a friend of mine I met from Combat Zone Wrestling, Adam Flash, I brought him down Ron brought him down originally to work me at an IPW or NWA Florida show. And then we brought him down for a couple of ACW shows. And he said, "Well, I'm going to get you up there, you know, and stuff." So he was running a show at Velocity Pro, and Billy Gunn was on the show. Stevie Richards was on the show. It was a good little show. Oh, you know who was on the show? I don't know what his gimmick name was then, but I just saw a picture. I'm like, oh my god, that's Corey Graves. And when he was like a wrestler.
Sterling James Keenan.
That's it. Yep. See, I know you'd know. Spike was just supposed to be on the show to sign autographs and just be like a you know, like just a name. And I guess Flash asked him if he wanted to work. And he's like, sure. And I didn't know who I was working. He just told me he was going to give me a good match. So we flew up. You know, we touched down in Philly, and I called him and said, "Hey man, plane just touched down. We're going to go over to the hotel." And he's like, "Hey man, you want to work Spike tonight?" Yeah, and it was fantastic. We had this. I didn't know what it was at first. Someone in the audience had a sign that said Barbie wire baseball bat. I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like, maybe it's just something like inside joke or something. Someone took a wiffle ball bat and like some like I don't know what you would call it, like some sort of like wire, and they would take like Barbie legs and stick them out like barbed wire, and they attached it to this wiffle ball bat somehow. So me and Spike are working. You know, Spike put me down, and he runs out the ring and goes and gets something. I was like selling, so I looked out of the corner of my eye, and he comes back in. He goes, "It's light, brother," and he fucking swung the wiffle ball bat in my stomach, and the legs went everywhere. And I mean, it just like it was a pop, and it really wasn't that light. It kind of cut me a little bit, but you know, for the one, but I didn't care. It was such a good match. My ear had like a little bit of blood in it, and they're so strict up there about their athletic commission. You know what I mean? Like when I got done with the match, then the nurse came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna check your ear out." I'm like, "Oh, it's just a little blood. I'm not, worried about it. I just washed out." You don't understand. I have to check your ear out. I'm like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I was just ACW. We freaking
Yeah.
shoulder out of socket. We just, I'll see you guys later. One time Damien Angel gave me a heel kick and my nose went over here. I had to have it pop back into place. But yeah, it was really crazy. And then, they're like, "We're gonna walk." I'm like, "Well, our cab's here." And it was me and my girlfriend at the time, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna have to walk you out to the cab." I'm like, "No, it's right on the curb there. Like, you don't understand. We're gonna have to walk you out." And like, fans were throwing stuff at me, because I shit on them. You know what I mean? I come out and I'm like, I had to make my way through Cracktown to get here, and all these fossils that used to come in and out of this building, and just like talking trash to everybody in there, and yeah, they were there. The people take their shit seriously, and I mean, I should have known that because sports fans in Philadelphia are just absolutely insane. They boo Santa Claus up there, you know that, right?
Yeah.
They threw bottles at a Philadelphia Eagles game and booed Santa Claus when he ran out on the field.
Poor Santa.
Who does that? Who boos Santa Claus?
All he wants to do is give out presents. Jeez. Who's someone you would like to work with here in Florida, or even just in general? Who have you seen and I'm like, oh, I could do some cool stuff with?
I mean, there's probably a quite a few. I'd like to work someone probably. I like working with cruiserweights a lot because I'm really. It's weird. I'm like really not a cruiserweight, but I'm not a heavyweight. But I work cruiserweight style. You know what I mean? For the most part, I like doing like the spots and stuff like that. So, geez, that's really hard to say who it would be. I mean, I know guys like that, like step down from like I'd like to work T.J. Perkins, man. He actually came through ACW quite a bit. His ex-girlfriend, Lucky O'Shea, actually used to manage me and C.J. O'Doyle at Bourbon Street, and he came through and like we got along great. And we always talked about working, but we never did. I'd love to work with TJ. I'd love to work with like Drew Gulak, guys like that. I like his, not no nonsense style of wrestling when he goes out there. I mean, you know, it's hard to like really like pinpoint, because I mean I could probably go on and on and on. I mean if I could pick, I'd want to work everybody at least once. But I mean I know a lot of that's not in the cards, because people are under contract, or people just aren't in the business anymore. I don't know. I think those two are like are right off the top of my head. Oh, there you got yourself a little pretty cat.
Yeah, cats are the best.
You know what? You know who else I'd like to work that we always talked about working and we were friends and never did? Rich Swan. We always
Hmm.
talked about it, we just never did. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of those guys. Like I said, I like working with cruiserweights. If it would have to be a bigger guy, I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough one. You kind of caught me off guard there with that question. I'd work anyone. I mean, I feel I could work with pretty much anyone. Um, I know back in the old days when I was like really tiny, it was really challenging for me to like work with bigger guys, because there's only so much I could do. But even now, like I've worked with like Logan Creed, and me and him work well together. It's just about being able. I think back in the day when I was little, I had like such the move set, and that was it. You know what I mean? Now I try to have like as many moves as possible, but I use them in different ways. I might not use certain moves for a bigger guy, but I'll use these moves. I might not use certain moves on a smaller guy, but I have these moves. So it's kind of like, I think that kind of keeps you versatile in the business. If you have I mean, think about it. Like if you're in a fight and you're doing a professional fight and stuff like that, wouldn't you be thinking that like, oh well, I might have to fight someone bigger than me? I should be thinking about things.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I can work with anyone, I think, and I'd like to work with just about everybody. But I mean, 41, lots of injuries. Will I got some go in me still, but
Speaking of that, what is the current update? Well, one, what happened? What's the current injury? And two, what is the timetable for the return?
oh, gotta love this one. I love explaining how this actually happened. It's not even that cool of a story. Like I'd like to say that I got into a bar fight, or it happened in the ring, or some like epic story. You know what I mean? That this happened, but um, I work at a bar called Skinny's for my shoot job, and I DJ there. And sink or swim is the big night. Oh, you having a little drink too? Good. You
No,
gotta
no,
hydrate.
swim break.
You gotta hydrate. Sink or swim is a big night there. And I like 10 minutes into my DJ set, and there's this girl I know that came up with her boyfriend and her kids, and they were just about to leave, because I think kids got to leave at like after 9 o'clock. Kids got to leave. It was like 8:10 or whatever. Well, they put the money in for a pool game, and not all the balls came out. So I'm like, oh, no big deal. I've done this a million times before. I bent down. I went to pick up the pool table, because you just pick it up like an inch or a half inch, and then you drop it, and the balls come right out. I've done it to that specific table. I don't know if maybe because they did really heavy arms in the gym that day or what, but when I went to do it, I heard a pop, and I didn't feel anything for at least a good 10 seconds, but I heard a pop, and that pop like made my skin crawl. Like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. I knew something was wrong. And then all of a sudden, I got like really dizzy and really nauseous. And I walked outside, because I really like legit thought I was going to puke. And when I walked outside, I looked at my arm, and my bicep was up at the top of my arm, all bunched up here. And I'm like, and I knew that and I tried to be hopeful, thinking, oh, maybe it's just partially torn, whatever, but I knew something was wrong. So the bartender and one of the customers made a sling out of a kitchen apron, and I put it on, and they're like, well, it's our big night, so we're gonna probably have to call I'm gonna have to call the owner to see if I'll get another DJ in here. And I'm like, why? I'm like, because my arm was, once it was steady, I didn't feel anything. It was just steady in the thing. So I'm like, dude, whether I break down my equipment now or 4 hours from now, someone's got to help me. I might as well stay and make the money. So I like, grab me a shot of Jameson and a beer, get this thing started, whatever. I didn't even go to the hospital the next day. And I went home and slept with this makeshift sling on. And I went to the hospital, and they did an X-ray. Everything was fine. They're like, well, we're not going to be able to really see anything with an X-ray. So they referred me to an orthopedic. And I went to go see him, and as soon as he saw it, he's like, yeah, that's that you tore your distal tendon and your bicep. It's the tendon. There's two ways you could tear your bicep. The most common way, which everybody thought was the way, because I had 2 shoulder surgeries on my right shoulder, it's very likely to tear if you had shoulder problems, is the up here. The bicep tears up here and rolls down. But it was actually, it tore here and rolled up. So he felt, it was weird because there was no bruising whatsoever. And he thought that was like the most strange thing ever, because it didn't bruise at all. He said, that's not really normal. Normally that bruise up right away. So he's like, look, you don't have to get it fixed, but you're going to lose 30% of the strength in your arm, and your arm's going to look pretty screwed up for the rest of your life. I'm like, nope, let's fix it. So you have to get that done within 30 days of it, because otherwise you risk like nerve damage and like lots of complications. So it was just go time, and we went and I got it done. And honestly, it was the easiest surgery I've ever had. I actually remember waking up in the hospital, and like when I had shoulder surgery, I don't remember leaving the surgery center. I don't remember getting home. I don't remember like most of the rest of my night. And I DJ'd a wedding 2 days later. I just had a buddy come and set up and tear down. I came in a black sling to match my black outfit, and that was it. So yeah, it sucks. But it was a long recovery. I had to be in a splint to keep my arm at 90 degrees for probably like 3 weeks. So that sucked. That was really challenging. But I'm in physical therapy. I went to see my doctor on Tuesday because my physical therapist said that I was a month ahead of my recovery, or a month ahead in physical therapy. Like they couldn't even give me any new exercises, and the ones they gave me were too easy. But I was ordered from the doctor not to do it, so I had to go to him and say, "Okay, you're ready." Blah blah blah. And so now Monday I'll get like a new regime, I guess. I'd like to say that I'll be like able to go back to the gym and pretty much, get back to my normal routine, probably I'd like to say by the middle to the end of June. I'm not going to rush things though. Even after that, I think I might even take like, another month just to get everything back. I mean, I got to build this bicep like completely back up because, it looks stupid, you know what I mean, until it does. And I want to get in the best shape that I possibly can get into before I do, before I come back, and even think about getting in the ring. I got to start taking care of myself. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I got to start taking care of myself. But I've also been doing lots of cryotherapy, lots of stretching, like really light, like, stretching, and some like, beginner yoga, just to get the good stretch and flexibility back. I probably shouldn't, but I have done a little bit of weight training. I don't do any like curls or pull-ups. I can't do that, but I've done like light bench press. I don't feel any pain doing that. But I got to go light. I've been doing light shrugs, light shoulder presses. I've been riding my bike miles and miles because, you're sitting home all day, not working. I need to social distance myself from the fridge because all I want to do is eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. So I've been doing a lot of cardio, and yeah. So I mean, I'm hoping. I'd like to say like, by August. I probably could go sooner, realistically, but I'm not going to rush it. I need to get my head straight, especially too with this whole pandemic thing, and getting back to work and getting things back to somewhat of normal. It's going to take a little bit of time, and I need to get my business where it needs to be as well too. Because I'm not going to get rich off of this, by any means.
But you are coming back though. That's the best part, is that you are definitely coming back.
Yeah, I feel I still have some juice left in me. I'm 41, but I don't feel that way. I mean, yeah, obviously shit like this happens, you know, kind of takes the wind out of your sails, but I mean, that could really happen to anyone, really. You know what I mean? It's just the wrong place, the wrong time, wrong weight. You know what I mean? Just kind of how that works, you know. But I feel I have the juice in me. I have the energy. I feel I could still go if I feel that I can. And I don't like to half-ass things. So like, I'm not one of those guys that comes to the show and says, "Oh, I'm just gonna take it easy tonight." I'm an all or nothing. We either go or we don't. You know what I mean? That's all there is to it. So if I feel that when I start feeling that I can't go to the level that I want to go to, then I know. Then I know that it's time for me to wrap things up. You know what I mean? But I feel I have juice in me. I feel like, yeah, I don't feel I'm done. It might be just one more good run. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that this is going to be like a 5, 6, 7 year bid. You know what I mean? I've, you know, beat up myself pretty darn bad, and you know, didn't really have like I ignored a lot of injuries and let a lot of things heal on their own. So it's not like, you know, guys that are like in the big time that are wrestling at 50, but they've had the best surgeons and doctors, and if they stub their toe, they're getting checked out. You know what I mean? So I feel I have one more good run. How long? It's gonna be a year. It's gonna be 2 years, 3. I don't know. Only time will tell. But I do miss it. I do miss performing. I miss being out in front of the crowd. I miss the camaraderie in the dressing room. I miss ribbing the boys and hanging out. And, you know, I think at this level of my career, I think this is my time to step back a little bit, though, and give back. You know, give back to the younger guys that are trying to, you know, make a name for themselves, or just the guys trying to get better. You know what I mean? Just trying to get better. Because realistically, no matter what your goals is in this business, whether you're, you know, just doing it for fun or whether you're trying to get signed, you never lose track of the goal. Like, I want to get better. That should be the number one thing on your mind all the time. Get better, get better. And I feel I get better. You know, even if I'm working a guy that's like green and new, I feel that they could help me even. You know what I mean? Especially young guys, because young guys, they have new, fresh ideas that maybe I didn't think of. You know, like I said, the business is changing always, always. And if you blink your eye, you know, oh shit, it's not like that anymore. It's like this now. You know, I mean, what happened to the Attitude Era? And then boom, that's gone. Then ECW was like the big hardcore thing. That was huge forever. And then that's kind of, you know, fizzled out a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not nearly as big.
Oh, very good. Back. August is the 6th anniversary of RPW. Just throwing that out there, maybe. So you kind of answered this already. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? So DJing. It sounds like. Will you do stuff after wrestling in the business? Do you see yourself backstage, or I know you didn't like commentary before. Like, what do you see yourself sticking around, or are you just gonna go off and do just other things?
I don't know if this is like a good thing or this is to my detriment, but I always feel I'm going to have something to do with wrestling. Ron and I, as a matter of fact, we've talked, and then, you know, he's going to be doing IPW shows, and, you know, I'm going to try to take a little, even now, you know, once I get better and get back to things and this whole shit gets back to normal, you know, I'm going to take a little more of an active role and, you know, trying to help out, like, you know, backstage with them, with IPW. I mean, you know, even at ACW, at Real Pro, I mean, you know, there's been times where, you know, I've helped out or out back and, you know, kind of helped run things and let guys know where they need to be and what they need to do. And, you know, I'm constantly getting advice, and I love it. You know what I mean? It's not to toot my own horn or my own ego or something like that. When people ask me for advice, it's for the fact that that's what they should be doing. They should be asking the vets, and you know, vets should be like, you know, giving them like knowledge. You know, they should be happy to do it because, you know, I mean, when vets don't, I've noticed this like back when I was like, a lot of times when vets don't want to help the younger guys, it's because they're worried about them taking their spot. But sooner or later, everybody's, loses their spot, in a long enough timeline, you know what I mean? And I want to leave something behind because that's how you live on, you know what I mean? You live on by passing your knowledge down to the next guy. And then that little saying that you said, or that little thing you taught that guy, he might, when he becomes a vet, he might pass that on to the next guy. You know what I mean? That's kind of almost like the circle of life, here in the business. So I think that's my goal now, just, beyond the wrestling. And to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. I think I'll always be involved in it. To what level? Backstage, manager, freaking ring. I don't know, right? I do ring announcing for MMA. I freaking ring announce. Who knows? You know what I mean? I want to be there. I want to be involved. I love it. It's something that I've always been passionate about. I know that, I'm not a religious guy or anything, but I know that wherever my grandfather is, he's pleased. You know what I mean? This pleases him, to see me do this, because that's where it all started. It all started in the living room watching wrestling on Saturday mornings,
No, that's very nice. Good to hear, man, because I think, it's always a pleasure to share a locker room with you. Definitely have a lot of knowledge to continue to give. Look forward to the return in the ring. Any plugs for bookings, both as a wrestler and even as a DJ? Let people know where they can find you.
Well, yeah, ultimately, like, I don't think I answered this question either as far as the DJ thing. It's definitely got to be, a priority to mine, because that's something that, even after I'm not wrestling or even during, it's what makes me my money and puts my food on the table, and you know what I mean, and something that I want to build up. I DJ, I do the lights, I do the custom monograms, uplighting, pipe and drape, stuff like that. And you could check that out at sbseventsflorida.com. And that, that's my website. And that's like, that's my passion. That's what I do: weddings, corporate events, and everything. And that's, I really want to build that. I'm at a big halt right now because of all this. But tomorrow night at Skinny's, we're having that parking lot party. And then once things get back to normal, I normally do like every other Wednesday at Skinny's, where I do like mostly like country and classic rock, because that's more the older crowd. And then like Thursday nights, I do every Thursday nights, which is our sink or swim at Skinny's, where it's like $10 all you can drink, domestic drafts and wells. And then I do like a lot of old school hip hop throwbacks, like 90s, early 2000s, stuff like that. And that's a lot of fun. So definitely check me out there. As far as wrestling, you're going to see me probably. I'm sure I'm going to be back at ACW, right here, because that's right here in Newport Richey, like right around the corner from my house. I'll definitely be over there at Real Pro, because I don't do a whole lot of. I try not to do 10,000 different organizations, because it gets confusing sometimes. And as much as I love it, and as much as I'd like to, I like to just stay with like a handful of organizations, because to me, first of all, I don't have the time to be able to do a million shows all the time. And especially when shows are on Saturdays, that's my prime time to do weddings and make, $6,000, $8,000, $1,000, you know what I mean? As opposed to, whatever, it can be paid as, from the promotion. So, but, you'll see me at Real Pro, you'll see me at ACW, you definitely see me at IPW. Ron probably runs about 4 or 5 shows a year. So, you'll definitely see me at those 3, definitely. Will I pop up maybe at other shows here and there? Sure, maybe. You know what I mean? But, I think I've earned the right to kind of pick and choose, and I can't really feel like I can do it every week or, twice a week like some of these guys do, both for health purposes and job and shoot job purposes. But yeah, those are the places you can check me out. Definitely come and see me. I love talking to the fans. I love talking to the guys and the girls in the business and stuff like that. I've always been had a big connection with the fans.
I was going to say, you mentioned before you never wanted to be a face, but I've seen you as a face in ACW. Do you now get a little enjoyment out of that, of the fans actually being more approachable and enjoying you now?
Well, here's the thing. In Newport Richey, where I live, I could go out there and like smack someone's mom in the crowd, and they'd still cheer for me. You know what I mean? It's really weird. Even when I was healing in the old ACW Bourbon Street days, you know what I mean? Yeah, they might hate me for a week or two, or why Sideshow, why, or maybe a month or so or whatever. But it just goes back to So I really can't. I don't mind doing a mix of them both. Healing is so much more fun because you could tell people, like, not necessarily what you think of them, but you could use like fans like to get that aggression out. Everything you wanted to tell your boss, or everything you wanted to tell your neighbor or whoever pissed you off that day. You could kind of like unleash it on the fans, and it's all fun there. And I like working as a heel because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's a more fun role. You could kind of, I don't know, there's really no limit to what you could do as a heel. You know what I mean? As a face, a lot of it's, I mean, yeah, you could be creative, but a lot of it's cookie cutter, getting the crowd going, this, that, and the other thing, you know what I mean? But I enjoy it. I enjoy, it makes you feel good when you hear the little, especially the little kids, cheering for you, get up. And I kind of, in this sense, not in like everyday life at all, but like in this sense, I like the sympathy, as the face. When you're reaching, out there, and then the crowd's, trying to get you up, and you're like, oh, and you just keep getting you beat down and beat down and beat down, and then finally you rise up. It's really like, people don't understand that aren't a part of the business. It's a feeling like no other out there, even getting that boo reaction as a heel is rewarding. It's as weird as that might sound. But it's, I tell people that all the time. Until you go out there and experience it, it's really hard for me to even explain to them like that, how you feel, it's just like, I've tore my groin 11 minutes into the match and went 37 minutes just because I had the adrenaline going so hard, because I had the fans and the atmosphere and everything. I had torn groin. I couldn't, when I sat down after, I couldn't get up and walk. I couldn't even move to walk. But here I am doing ranas off the top and crashing through tables and stuff like that, like it's nothing. So yeah, I enjoy both roles. I definitely enjoy both roles. I like the fact that I get to do both, in different areas. So that's cool.
Any parting words to the boys and girls at home?
No, I just, everybody stay safe out there. I know this sucks. I mean, no one wants to have to deal with this, but hopefully we'll be back to somewhat normalcy soon. Definitely I'd like to see everybody back at the shows when we get the okay to do so and it's safe to do so. I can't wait to see everybody's face. I mean, even if I, I'm not cleared or don't feel I'm ready to get back in the ring right away, I mean, I still, probably will pop in and just to see everybody and the fans and stuff. So stay safe. Don't stop. Don't give up on independent professional wrestling. It will be coming back, and I believe it'll be coming back bigger and stronger than ever with a vengeance, because we don't have anything. I mean, people are going to be psyched. The guys are going to be chomping at the bit to get out there and get in the ring. So, I just hope to see everybody soon, and I hope everybody gets through this, as painless as possible.
Absolutely. You said it best, man. We'll be back with a vengeance, and I'm sure Sideshow will be as well. Well, guys, for Sideshow, JPO, thanks for checking out Kayfabe Corner. Have a great one. Thank you, Sideshow.
Thank you, man.